We're going to get started. So today we will be going over Platform 101. So I know there are people on this call that'll have varying knowledges of platform. So just keep that in mind, and please just know that there is no question that is too simple or too complicated. So enjoying, looking forward to going over this. So today's presentation will be recorded, and we will send the recording out to you all. Would love to have folks introduce themselves in the chat. So if you don't mind, if you can drop your name, pronouns, what organization you're with, and what brought you here today. All right. So as we're going through the presentation, if you have a question, you can use the Q&A feature under Meeting Tools, and we will make sure we get to all questions at the end of the presentation. So I guess before we dive into the agenda, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Ryan Jameson. I'm a technical success analyst at Civis Analytics. I've been here going on 5 years now. So I work with a lot of our clients, and essentially I help clients get the most value out of platform. Work with them closely in a consultative capacity, just making sure like they're aware of all the features, and helping them troubleshoot issues, and really just again helping them get the most value out of platform to solve their data challenges. So on today's agenda, we're going to we'll do an intro to Civis Platform. Uh, we're going to talk about navigating Civis Platform in the UI, imports and exports, data analysis and transformations, Civis AI, and data visualizations. All right, so let's get started with intro to Civis Platform, who we are, what exactly is Civis Platform for those who may not have used Civis Platform before, and how teams use it. So Civis Platform uses data to provide organization with a comprehensive understanding of the audiences they care about most. We enable nonprofits to target and measure their campaigns and programmatic efforts, excuse me, with precision. We bring the same innovative technology, discipline, transparency, speed, and accountability to commercial organizations, the public sector, and nonprofits around the world. And you can see some of the organizations we've worked with: Human Rights Campaign, Planned Parenthood, LCV, Doctors Without Borders, amongst the others. So Civis Platform is a cloud-based data warehouse and analytics platform. So it increases analytical collaboration, minimizes duplication of efforts, and decreases time spent identifying broken processes. It increases staff efficiency, enables data sharing and governance, and automates time-consuming tasks. And you'll see that as we go through this webinar, and how these features enable organizations to do these things. So Civis Platform enables data teams to work more efficiently in a secure shared environment. Platform It has plenty of features and can be as deep and shallow as you want. But there are like three main layers of it, which is reporting. So, measure and report on the effectiveness of your campaign. So organizations, they want to be able to gain actionable insights from the data that they have. And, we do that through reporting and data warehousing. So, consolidating and enriching your data from membership lists, fundraising tools, and other CRMs to understand your audience. So the data is what powers the reporting, and also data governance and collaboration. So enable secure cross-team collaboration with an up-to-date source of truth. And all this can be easily done within platform without having to leave platform. Like you can do all this within Civis. So now that we know what platform is, we're going to talk about navigating Civis Platform via the user interface and talk about those features. So first we'll talk about main navigation menu, and this is where you'll access most of the features for platform. So from that menu, you can access the home screen, search, query, where you'll query your data, so imports and exports, code for you to write your scripts, notebooks, also Civis Studio, tools, so things like workflows and enhancements. Publish is where you'll access your reports and services. The admin tab is where admins can manage users and groups in platform. Notifications, so those are announcements made, whether there are product updates or things that we notify clients about. And the initials in the top screen is where you can access your profile and documentation. So that's where like you'll reset your password, add GitHub repos. And again, we'll talk about all these things in more depth throughout this webinar. So for global search, the search bar allows you to search through all objects you have access to. So you can filter results by type and author. You can also sort results by relevance, author, and created date, and tab through pages of results. So for the most effective searches, we recommend searching for full phrases and including more rare terms. So especially if your organization has been on platform for a while and they have a bunch of different objects, we just recommend that to make your search more efficient. So next we'll talk about the data pane. So the data pane is on the left and it displays the data that is in your database. So from the data pane, you can search for schemas and tables. You can expand schemas to see tables that are located within them. You can select the table names to view detailed information about the data in the table. So things like summary statistics, when the table was last updated, who has permissions on the table, things like that. And you can also scan a schema or a table for updates to see if any new table was added, or if you need to scan the table quickly to see if any data has been updated. So next we have the project pane. So it is on the left and you click the folder icon to access the projects. And so essentially I would think of projects like when I explain it to people, think of it like a Google Drive type thing where it can hold all types of different platform objects and it allows you to organize them in a logical way. So they are folders. Projects are folders in Civis Platform, and you can organize and store objects. So reports, scripts, workflows, tables. You can also add notes and descriptions. And you can also share objects and improve collaboration across teams. So you can share at the project level. So if you have a bunch of different objects, you can use project to share all of them. And for organizations that I work with, uh, when they have their platform organized with projects, it makes new people that when they onboard them, it makes it a lot easier for those new users to onboard to platform because they can have all their projects organized in a way depending on like their initiatives or whatnot, where they have everything in a project and you don't have to go around searching for things. So highly recommend taking the time and investment to organize your platform instance with projects. So next we're going to talk about the action menu. So the following features in the standard action menu apply to all platform objects. So this, for example, imports, exports, scripts, and workflows, and others. So you can share, which allows you to share objects with other users within your platform instance. You can share users, you can give them varying levels of access to an object. You can also notify. So this allows, like, if a job runs, it'll notify and send an email to users who you have added their email address for. And this one I see a lot of clients use. So you don't have to have a platform account. So if you want to add an email, so say if there's a stakeholder that depends on a certain project or a report, should I say, that needs to be refreshed, you can add that stakeholder's email, and when that report refreshes, the stakeholder is alerted and sent an email that the job is ran, and this just allows stakeholders to know, like, and be confident that they're, for example, just data that's not stale. So it allows to keep all stakeholders in the loop, whether they're in platform users or they're not. Automate. So again, this is an essential one. You can automate tasks in platform. So you do the work once, and then you can automate it, have it run on a cadence that of your choosing. So you can have things run monthly, weekly, daily. We even have clients that have things running, every 10 minutes or so. So you can fine tune it to your needs and your use case, and you can easily do that within the UI. You can also clone. So cloning is essentially if you have some work that you've done in platform and you want to build off that work, you can just clone an object and it'll create its own distinct object separate from what it was cloned from, and then you can work with and edit that object. So that way, again, you don't have to start from scratch, and just saves time. And lastly, archive. So archive, essentially, when you archive something, it will not show up in search results. And this is very helpful, again, for clients who may have a lot of objects in platform and just want to keep it organized. And a good thing about archiving is it's not a permanent action. So if you do archive something, you can always unarchive it as well. So next we'll talk about user management. So Admin Center is a standalone page that allows users to view, edit, and manage user groups within their org. Org admins and group admins have additional permissions to create and edit users and groups. So when it comes to just like access and things like that, admins can easily come in, deactivate users or create users, and you don't have to wait for us, and it just allows you to quickly audit users, things like that. You can do all that within Admin Center because it'll tell you when someone was last signed in. If you need to reset their password to FA, you can do all that from admin. And also we have the help widget. So the help widget can be found at the top right of your home screen and platform. And from the help widget, you can search through Zendesk articles for documentation on a wide array of topics. I always encourage clients to utilize our Zendesk documentation. We have very robust documentation, and we invest a lot of time in making sure that it's up to date and that the information is helpful for clients. So, highly encourage users to utilize our Zendesk. All right, so now that we've got a lay of the land of platform in the UI, we're going to talk about imports and exports. So here we'll be talking about credentials, some common data sources that clients import and export to, and also the API. So before we can import or export something, we have to authenticate. So you can easily create credentials within platform. And it's an easy way to securely store and manage that access information. Credentials allow you to connect to external sources. So other databases, Salesforce, Google, uh, and many more that we have. And you can successfully execute job runs in platform using that credential. You may need to create credentials when working with the following or others. So databases, Facebook, Google Analytics, Salesforce, and S3. But again, very straightforward creating credentials in platform. So to create a credential, you navigate to the admin tab, you'll select credentials, click new credential in the top right corner. And depending on what type of credential you're creating in the API or source you're connecting to, that'll determine what fields you need to fill out. And also, if you do not see the service named on the credential type dropdown, you can select a custom credential, and that allows you to create credentials uh, that you need to connect to an external source that may not be listed, and just provides that flexibility. So you also can share credentials. So from the menu on the top right of the credential detail page, you can select share and specify the permission level for the user or group. So that would be viewer, editor, or manager. And again, this just allows you to store these credentials securely and make sure only those who need access to them has that access. In the same way, as you share permission, you can easily revoke permission to a credential as well. All right, so once we have our credentials set up, we want to import or export data. The following sources can be found under the data pane and platform. So databases, file, Excel, Google Sheets, Google Analytics, Salesforce, SFTP sites, S3 buckets, mobile commons, and HubSpot. So let's talk about importing from a database. So under source, you'll select the database and credential you like to sync into your database. And again, you would create that connection. That's what the credential is for. But once you create that credential, you can select it in the source. And if this is your first time syncing data from the source database, you'll also need to set up a new database. And you can fill out the JDBC URL, username and password information, add. And also under destination, you'll select the database and credential you would like to sync the data into. And there are other configurations, which we're not going to get into, but again, very point and click and very straightforward, connecting to a database so you can import and export that data. So next we have Salesforce. I wanted to call out Salesforce because a lot of clients use Salesforce, and especially, Salesforce can be pretty expensive to warehouse data. So a lot of our clients use Platform to store their data here, do their transformations, and then export it into Salesforce. So I just wanted to call that out. So there are five required parameters for the Salesforce import and export jobs and platform. So you need the user credential, the client credential, the destination database credential, and destination schema and table. We have documentation on these things, so it is straightforward to fill out. And if you ever run into issues, you always can reach out to the support queue where myself, Ryan, or Owen are more than happy to help with setting these up for you or helping you set these up. So there are many optional parameters for the Salesforce import and export jobs and platform. So this includes Salesforce instance URL, the Salesforce object that you would like to import or export. You can also provide a SQL query, which is the custom SQL used for Salesforce, and also incremental sync. All right. You can also search for additional templates created by the Civis team in a few ways. So you can click on more imports or more exports under the data tab, or you can click on more templates under the code tab. So we have a wide array of out-of-the-box connections for you to be able to easily pull in that data. So, so yeah, this is how you can search for the additional ones that may not show when you click on those tabs. So if you're unable to use one of our out-of-the-box imports and exports, you can also connect your database to external sources programmatically via an API. So, I've seen clients do this where if we don't have an out-of-the-box integration, they'll create a script, data in, and we'll talk about scripts a little later. We also have the Civis API, which is hosted at the URL right there. And this is the prefix for all of our endpoints. And I will also say for those who prefer API, a lot of the things that we're talking about during the webinar, most of these things can also be performed by the API. So a lot of these actions that we are using that I'm going over in the UI can also be done by the API. We also offer a Python and R API client. And also out-of-the-box import and exports can be created and executed via the API, which I just alluded to. All right, so now that we've talked about ways you can bring in your data to platform, we're going to talk about data analysis and transformations. So first, we're going to start with querying, because that's usually the first step. Once you bring in your data, you want to do some type of exploratory data analysis. And our query page allows you to do that directly. So you can directly interact with your data using code in real time without leaving the Civis interface. You can also search and filter past queries. This has been a big one for me and clients that I've worked with. So if you ever have wrote a ridiculously long query, sometimes you need to go back to it, and you can easily do that through the history. You can also configure the number of preview results that are returned from a query when you run it. And you can also easily format your query and also open it as a SQL script. And if you're looking at the generate SQL, we'll talk about that later, but also in the query, you can provide natural language, and it will an LLM will create a query for you. But again, we'll talk about this a little more during the Civis AI section. So directly in the query pane, you can also quickly visualize your results in the graph tab. So if you click on that tab, you can create charts. So right now we support bar charts, line charts, and scatter. But you can also save this as a SQL report to share with your team. And while we don't go too much into this, my colleague Ryan, he actually just had a webinar on reporting where he talked in depth about SQL reports. So highly recommend checking that out if you find this interesting. All right, so once we've done our EDA on our data, a lot of times we want to productionize the scripts that we or the work we were doing, whether it's like transformations, things like that. So we enable users to query, modify, import, and export data in any language using our scripts. So we have Python scripts, R scripts, JavaScripts, SQL scripts, DBT, and container scripts. So if we don't have like a native script for the language that you use, you would use a container script for that, which we'll talk about. All right. So container scripts allow users to check out code from any GitHub repository. You can run any code that you like on a dedicated server from within Civis Platform. And we use Docker to create and maintain the environment in which your code will run. So again, if you are like, I have some clients that really they use Java, which we don't have a native script for that, but if you have your code in the repo, you just easily using the profile, which we discussed earlier, you connect your GitHub repo, and then here you can configure this container script and run that directly in Civis. So next we have DBT, which is a popular tool for building data transformation pipelines in SQL. You can run DBT pipelines via DBT scripts, either by themselves or as part of a larger workflow. This also requires you to connect your script to your Git repository. So also notebooks. So Civis Platform supports in-app Jupyter notebooks for R and Python. Users can leverage our Python or our API clients to interact with platform via notebooks or build right through the platform UI. Notebooks leverage the same documentation and GitHub controls. So I know some people might prefer doing their EDA in notebooks. So, if you prefer that, you can use our notebooks for that. Also do those transformations. And again, it works just the same way. If you're familiar with Jupyter notebooks, it'll work the same way. It's just in platform. All right, so you can bring all these types of jobs or these scripts that we've talked about together in a workflow. You can chain those together. You can run multiple tasks in sequence to create a unified task structure and an end-to-end data analytics pipeline. Workflows are entirely programmable through a visual drag and drop interface, but advanced users can use YAML to build and configure workflows. And also to like when you're in, not to get too deep into this, but you can configure the workflow. So if once you chain your jobs, you can control the logic. So if a job fails, it can you can, determine what route the workflow should take, whether it fails or succeeds. And you can do some really powerful things with workflows. And again, this has the same standard action menu, so you can automate workflows and it will run the entirety of the workflow. And also if a task fails, you can restart a workflow from a failed task. And if you may need to come in and just run a subsection of a workflow, you also have the ability to do that as well. All right, so we'll talk about Civis Studio now. Civis Studio is a virtual or secure virtual development environment built with the open source version of Visual Studio Code. It allows you to write, run, and commit code to GitHub directly in platform. You can use it to edit multiple files, perform Git operations, and debug your code before productionizing in a script or workflow. And also, it includes a beta version of the open source Copilot chat extension. And I've also, with clients I work with, for those who may want to start doing development using the IDE, this is a great way. I find it to be lower barrier to entry because you don't have to. All this it's configured when you sign in the platform, as opposed to if you were doing this on your device where you have to configure a lot of these things. It's pretty much ready to go out of the boxing platform. So if this is something that you're interested in, it's definitely a lower barrier to entry. All right, so next we will talk about Civis AI. So start off with SQL AI Assist. I touched on this earlier, but it's an AI-powered tool integrated directly into the Civis query tool and SQL report pages. It helps you craft SQL queries by offering smart, context-aware suggestions and automating parts of the process so you can spend more time analyzing data and less time writing complex queries. So again, you can pass it natural language and it'll suggest a query and you can decide whether you want to accept or discard it. So, really great, especially if you have a complicated query, you can, pass it that natural language. And, as all LLMs, sometimes they can make mistakes, but it can be a great starting point. So that way you at least don't have to start from scratch. And I also find too that it gets it right on some pretty complicated queries. It gets it right as well. So, but anyway, it uses metadata from tables that you have mentioned in your prompt. So, yeah, when you provide the prompt, you tell it the table names that you're working with, and it can tell like what data types it has, and also like if you have things like comments on your tables and things like that, it will also gain that context as well. So this can be a very powerful tool and free up some time so that way you don't have to construct those long, complicated queries. So next we'll talk about Civis AI Core. So Core allows you to send text to a language model and receive responses. So for example, answers to questions, labels for documents you want to categorize, or a summary of a collection of documents. You can also choose from available models that are best suited to your use case. So I've had clients utilize Core to I had one client, it fed Core like data about certain donors, and Core was able to find patterns and connections between those donors that the client wasn't aware of. So, yeah, things like that. And also just passing it, like if you're doing, we have some clients that may do responses that do open responses to surveys, things like that. You can pass it and ask it questions about that as well. We also have Taxonomer. So Taxonomer is a tool that uses generative AI to categorize text. So you only need to tell it where your data is and what categories you want to label the data with. We recommend using the default model, but you also have the options to choose another model. So another use case, like if you want to do like sentiment analysis, earlier I mentioned some clients doing like open question surveys. Taxonomer is another tool, another great way to be able to categorize responses that you may get from that. So, and a great thing too is that we also offer like a freemium model. So like all clients get 1,000 tokens for the month between the organization to, play around with these tools and use them and see how they can add these to their workflows. So we also have the Civis MCP server, which has been really popular amongst clients. So it's a Docker-based server that lets any AI tool talk directly to Civis Platform. So you can query data, run jobs, troubleshoot workflows, and build reports in plain language. So you can ask it things like, why did my workflow fail? How many records are in the voter table? Build an HTML report from this query and publish it, or set up and deploy an R Shiny app for me. And if you don't know what R Shiny, that's a service, which another like an application, which we'll talk about. This works with Claude Desktop, Claude Code, and Copilot in VS Code. It works with Civis Studio, which comes pre-installed, no setup needed, and any MCP compatible client. To get started locally, you'll need Docker installed and running, Claude Desktop or VS Code Copilot, and this platform API key. And I will say, just from experience working with this, it's really been a game changer. Just especially with the reporting, it's really great at building HTML reports, and the clients that I work with that use it have had nothing but great things to say, and it's really freed up a bunch of time because it allows them to, just like build reports. And if you're using, I've seen clients connect to external APIs. So just like if there's a integration that we don't have, it has helped them. Oh, I'm sorry, that's actually not MCP server. They were using Claude Desktop, so for the integration piece. But still, I will plug that clients have been able to use Claude Desktop to help import data with platform. All right, so now that we've done transformations on our data, again, we want to get some type of actionable insight. So we do that with reports and visualizations. So we offer several reporting options in platform. So you can use Tableau, which is a popular one amongst clients. And we have our own Tableau server. So if you do decide to use Tableau, you host your reports on our Tableau server. You do need a Tableau desktop license, but that's only for those who will be publishing the reports. And then you can view the reports directly within platform. You can also, if you want, create public links as well. So that way you don't need a platform account to view a Tableau report. Also HTML reports. That's another popular one, especially now, as I mentioned, with the MCP server and just like the rise of coding agents, they have become very popular. SQL reports, which we talked about in the query pane. And we also we have a Looker Studio connection where you can connect your data directly in platform to Looker Studio. And again, there are other options that clients use, but these are like ones that are like kind of straight out the box with platform. So we also have services. So a service, you can host your web application and introduce interactivity into your data science workflow through useful front-end tools. So essentially a service is an app that runs within platform. So we support several frameworks like R Shiny, Flask, and Streamlit. And we also have templates that you can use, so you don't have to start from scratch to build these services. And again, my colleague Ryan, he just did a webinar on reporting, and he also talked about building services. So We don't go in depth here, but he really went in depth talking about that. So I highly recommend viewing his webinar on our YouTube channel to learn more about building reports and platforms. All right, so that's all that we had today, just in terms of Platform 101. I do want to say again, there are so many more features in Platform that you can utilize. So highly recommend playing around. If you have a platform account, just taking a look, playing around with those. You can always reach out if you have additional questions. If you do not have a platform account, please get in touch. If you're interested in learning what Civis Analytics can do for your organization, we love to connect. You can reach us at info@civisanalytics.com. So thank you. And I guess we can go to Q&A now. And again, can reach out to support@civisanalytics.com with any questions. If you saw something that you would like a more depth, to learn more in depth about, as your technical success analyst, we're always happy to schedule some time, talk you through things. If you have a use case that you like to talk about, please reach out and we can talk to you or connect you with the right folks. All right, so let's see if we have any questions. All right, so I see, can I use Claude Code or GitHub Copilot in Civis Studio? Yes, you can use Claude Code or GitHub Copilot in Civis Studio, and we have documentation on how you can connect Claude Code in Civis Studio. Also, thanks, Ryan, for linking the reporting webinar from last week. Can Civis connect to SharePoint site analytics? I so I believe that it can, but there may require some additional configuration. I know that Microsoft, I have a client that uses Microsoft, and I know they have like a bunch of IPs that need to be allowed. So I think there's like some type of gateway that needs to be created, something like that. But happy to follow up with that, John, on that question. But I think technically, yes, it's possible, but there just might be some additional configurations needed for the two to connect, to communicate, just because of the number of IPs that Microsoft requires to be allow listed.
Hello, everybody. Ryan Jewell here, just jumping in. If you do have a Q&A question, you can navigate to the Q&A by the 9 little circle icon at the bottom right of the Google Hangout. And from there, you can go to Q&A and put in your questions.
Thanks, Ryan. What's the difference between a script, workflow, and notebook? So a script, you can think of a script as think of it like a file, that'll, if you're writing your code in platform, um, you know, s- you're writing your code in whatever type of script you're using, think of that as a file that like has the logic encapsulated in it for, whatever you're going to do to your data. Whereas a notebook is more like you got to start the server, you run a notebook, it follows that um, you like run each cell individually, whereas though in a script, you add all your code there and it'll run once you run the script. Whereas though a notebook, you kind of have to run that one by one. And then a workflow is essentially a graph, a directed graph where you can add uh, different scripts and jobs, and you can control the flow of that graph and how it should work. So say you have a database import job, you can have that as a task. It imports the data, and then once the data is imported, you can have let's say a Python script does some type of manipulation on the data, and then another task that updates a script or updates a report, something like that. So think of a workflow as more so a way to um, chain different scripts or jobs together. Type of SQL used by Civis. So mainly, so if you get like the standard, we use Redshift, but we also support Postgres if you need to use Postgres. We do have clients that use a BigQuery. They can like we call it, like, bring your own cluster. You can bring a BigQuery cluster. So, but I would say most clients use Redshift. So that would be like the dialect of SQL being used.
We also support DBT, and we have some like DBT specific jobs that will show you all of the like the normal DBT logs you expect to see, like all the steps lined up, and the 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 summary statistics of the results of those DBT SQL queries. We kind of got an interesting question asking like, how did we get started working for an analytic company? Sort of like, how do we get from college to here? I know for me, I was the poli sci world. I did political science, is a lot of like data work in it, surprisingly, and from there I just learned R and Python, and went to graduate school to learn a little bit more of that. Also have a master's in poli sci, and did a lot of survey research and stuff like that, and that lined up pretty well with Civis, it turns out. And did a little bit of math myself, but a lot of the math behind data science these days is all kind of like glossed over. So I don't know how much calculus 1 and 2 helped me at the end of the day. Ryan, what about you? How did you get to Civis?
Uh, so so I was working. I worked on a congressional campaign for a congresswoman in New Mexico, and I was like the de facto data director for the campaign, and we had a Civis instance. So it really just aligned with, like, at that time I was like pivoting in my career, and I was really focused on data. I did a boot camp, and I also did like this fellowship with Kaggle, and data politics. Just lined up, and I said, all right, I'm going to apply here once the campaign is over, and that's how I ended up at Civis.
Data boot camps are great. You learn a lot real quick, get a lot of good code out of it. Definitely recommend data boot camps.
Any other questions? And also just know, again, I just want to say again, if once we leave here, if you think of a question, feel free to reach out to us on the support queue. I'm happy to answer any questions there. And if you would like to learn about other features maybe that you've seen in platform that we didn't discuss today, or you like to learn more about a feature that we did discuss, because I know we didn't go too in depth on certain things, don't hesitate to reach out and we can schedule some time to talk to you about those things.
Odds are you'll get either Ryan Jameson or me, Ryan Jewell. Don't get confused by our very similar names.
Not confusing at all.
No one ever gets that wrong. And we have a ton of these webinars. We do them like every month. So if y'all want to learn more about Civis Platform and ins and outs, check our YouTube channel for these past webinars. We had one of our clients, Middle Seat, do one for us a few months back that went over their political work infrastructure on Civis Platform, where they're pulling in data. They have some DBT, some ETL steps, and they export that data back to a G sheet, and they pull that into the reporting infrastructure. So really exciting. We got some really exciting webinars on our YouTube channel, so check them out. I think next month we'll be doing a webinar on workflows in particular on Civis Platform and how to leverage them with like parameters and things like that. So hopefully we'll see you all then. This one will get posted on YouTube in the coming days, so check that out as well. I think everybody that gets signed up will get sent a link to it, so you can share it around to anybody who wasn't able to attend.
Yeah, and I also plug too, we have like some code examples on our GitHub as well. So if you want to take a look at our GitHub and look at some of those public examples, highly recommend that as well. All right, so I guess if we don't have any more questions, we'll wrap this up. Again, thank you all for coming, and definitely hope that you join another webinar to learn more about Civis.